wouldn't have been here to connect it all.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mental Arts with John Worthington. I'm Vanessa, and I'm here with John, author of The Office of Shaman. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm actually pretty wonderful. I thought I told you, though.
I think I have heard that before from you.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a nasty rumor, but it's true. What can I tell you?
So, we're just going to dive into it today. What do you think? What do you say?
Well, let's dive away.
Yeah, I heard that you're impatient, so I'm just going to go right to my point.
All right, then. Just jump right into it.
Okay, so the other day, we've been covering the material in your book, and one of the things that we've been talking about is the map. And so, Bob, it talks about how Bob starts in one place, and then at the end, he's in a different place. And yesterday we were talking about, or not yesterday, the days, I don't know, one of these days, we were talking about how we use that map all the time, but we really don't understand that we're using it. And so if it really is like, if we understood what we were doing, it would be much more beneficial. So you made an example and everything. So again, when talking back to that map and everything, like, okay, so you give us an example of that. So break it down for us. Like, okay, so you have the agreement of you have to stay in an agreement, or you do stay in an agreement when you're communicating with other people. And then what?
Sorry?
And then what? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, then what? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, why do you need those tools? Why do we need that map?
Well, one of the most famous experiments that's ever been done in quantum theory is the double slit experiment. And in the double slit experiment, electrons behave either as particles or photons, whatever their little subatomic thing they're firing they're using for the measurement. But when they go through two slits, they act like they're particles if somebody's paying attention, looking at it. If no one's paying attention to it, if it's just random, what happens is that it makes a wave pattern.
Okay.
Now, so that you can visualize what I'm talking about in terms of a wave pattern, think about a barcode. That's a wave pattern. Okay. In other words, that barcode where those black lines line up are unique to a particular pattern of waves going through a particular pattern of slots, as it were. Well, the surprising part of that isn't that waves that electrons can deal with can think of themselves or can act as though they're waves or act as though they're particles. The interesting part about that is that we consciously, or if we are aware of what's going on, we order it. We order the activity at a subatomic level. We put it in an order just by paying attention to it. So whether we pay attention to something consciously or unconsciously doesn't make any difference. We all run around acting like that what we're conscious of is who we are and what we're about and so forth. And to a great extent that may be true. But maybe we're a lot more than that because of the unconscious part of our brain that is reading barcodes, as an example. So, what is an agreement? And why do you want to have an agreement? Because agreements is what funds you or gives you the energy to make something real. Because you can't make something real by yourself. It requires somebody helping you make something real. If you make it real all by yourself, we call it masturbation, actually. And so there's a name for it and all, but it doesn't really grow and get or anything like that. It just you having a good time. And so it doesn't really become anything. And so the thing is that when you make something with somebody, it becomes something, and that thing becomes something as well. That thing grows and becomes. And so the thing is that when we're making agreements, what we're doing is we're making something real someplace. Whatever we're focusing on, actually. So if somebody's making love and they're angry, whew, what are they making? If it's not a baby, what are they doing to their life? If somebody's lying when they're making love, what are they doing in their life? Oh my. So it's like, I mean, I don't care. And it's like, we all do those kinds of things. It's like, there's not a moral judgment here. It's like, there's awareness that we could have though. And it's like, that's the point. Agreement, being aware of what agreements you're making might even lead you to be able to see what reality you're creating, because the one's the same as the other. That's why you have to have agreements, I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
So from here, you also have like from that little diaphragm, like that map that you talked about, you break it down on, and you explained it to us, but you went, fairly quickly and everything. So when someone is applying for the DMV and everything, but how do you how do you know that, so I know that do is like what everybody does, right? So can you give us a more explicit example of the playing field with all of the parts, like the whole box?
Well,
I call it box, but I know it's a figure, but it's like in a little rectangular,
Yeah, I can, but it takes quite a while to be able to explain this to people, actually, because it's not a simple concept, as you say it. There's a lot of parts. How about if we just start with maybe 3 parts? How about if we just did that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first thing that we have to think about in any of this is like being at one with oneself. That doesn't mean that you have to walk on water. It doesn't mean that you have to solve all of your problems. It doesn't mean that you have to be holy or righteous or any of those kinds of things. And especially it doesn't mean that you have to be right. As a matter of fact, you're probably never going to be right. So it's just as well that you could write that down and put it on a Post-it note and stick it on your head, because it's the way it is. You're just never going to be right. However, you can be close, I guess. You can be at least accurate about what you say, so that you don't confuse people about or mislead them. I think you can do that, probably, maybe. So anyway, here's the thing: you have to be at one with yourself, and that really means that you have to look at your programming. What programming do you really have? And I mean, most people aren't aware that there are multiple personalities. I mean, I'm not being judgmental or trying to make a diagnosis or anything. I'm just saying that's true for a lot of people. I mean, we have a personality when we drive. We have a personality when we're at work. We have a personality when we're at mommy's house. We have a personality when we go to the Schwegra's house or the mother-in-law's house. We have a personality when we're hanging with the girls. We have a personality when we're hanging with the boys. And each one of those personalities have distinct rules and characteristics and recognizable. Maybe they're all Vanessa, or maybe they're all John, but they're special over there in that place. That there's things there that happen there that don't happen anywhere else. And it's because that personality is there, I think. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that we just need to realize that we're kind of divided against ourselves in places. Nothing right or wrong about it. We all go through that to a certain extent every day, I think. We get up in the morning, we say, well, we're going to get this done, and we don't get it done, so we're divided against ourselves. Well, that happens. but it shouldn't run our lives. It should be something that happens, and we move on, and we say, oh yeah, that part, we're not through that yet. We're not through that, not done with it yet. We're still working on that part. So until we get to the place where we say, oh, yep, we're done with that, we'll move on. Well, that's being at one with yourself, just doing all those things that you personally have to do because they're yours to do. That's it. Then there's harmony. In harmony, you get to harmony by understanding where the other guy is, by moving your assemblage point is what we say. But it's like really understanding where the other guy is and understanding what he needs and understanding what he's talking about and so forth, which means you have to look at things through his eyes. That one's one that people talk about, but not many people can do. They all want you to look through their eyes. They don't want to look through somebody else's eyes. They want, agree with me. Well, okay, I'll agree with you. What do you want? Well, I want to be important. Proof you're important? There you go. How's that? You got a title and everything. We're going to call you Mr. Important. How's that? Is that all right? Okay. I don't mind from there on out. You can be important if you want to. You can even have a corner desk if that a corner office. What are you going to do in that corner office there? You're going to be important? Okay, cool. Let me know how that's going for you, all right? That's not really harmony. That's kind of the antithesis of harmony, and it's not as productive as being in harmony, actually, but it's actually understanding what that other person is going through. I guess the best story I've ever been involved with that was this guy that had various operations on his back, and he couldn't move. And the reason why he had the operations was because he argued with the foreman of a job that he took, because the guy was a rancher, and things got bad, and so he had to take the job in the factory to be able to keep the ranch going. And so he was good at what he did, but he couldn't always get there on time because he's a rancher, and the cows, the damn things don't wear watches. They're just not reliable at all about being on time about anything, And so for him to arrive at work every day at like 7 o'clock or whatever time he was supposed to be there, it just didn't happen. He didn't mind working until he got done, but the foreman on the job, that factory, was just on his ass all of the time because he was never there on time. And you are just not very trustworthy because you don't come on time. And it's like the guy's thinking to himself, I'm running a ranch and I'm coming in here to bail your ass out, and you're telling me that I'm not on time? What the hell are you talking? And the foreman just made this guy's life miserable until the guy to the point his back hurt all the time. He'd had 7 operations when I met him.
Wow.
And so we got him and the foreman and the boss of the factory and the insurance guy together. And we sat down, we talked to everybody, and we said, tell me what's going on between you and the foreman. And he started telling me what's going on, telling everybody what's going on between the foreman, and the big boss said, well, Mr. Foreman, what the hell's that? I mean, it's a guy that's working fine, and you're hassling because he doesn't come on time. Well, he's supposed to be here on time. Yeah, he's supposed to be, but if he's here and he does whatever, I mean, we can live with him because he's a human being, right? I mean, the big boss was kind of on everybody was asked about. The insurance guys just sit back saying, yeah, baby, you better understand this one, honey, because you done cost me a lot of money. And so guess what? About 2 to 3 weeks after that sit down, that guy was loading hay back up there in his ranch again because he got that thing resolved that made his back hurt. That doesn't happen much, but it does. And it's like, when it does, you kind of have to applaud and say, well, yippee-ki-yay. But the only reason it did was because everybody got in harmony with each other about the issue, really. That's what harmony is about, being in harmony with what's actually going on, not in harmony with what's supposed to be going on or what's morally correct. Not with what your comadres thinks is correct, not with what your girlfriends think is correct, not with what your bro thinks is correct, not bros, none of that shit. What's correct is what's good for you. What you know is correct. Now that's if you're not true to yourself, who the hell are you going to be true to? You got to be true to you. So to be true to yourself, you've got to be in heart. You got to be able to say, okay, look, whatever I am, whatever I'm about is not so important that I can't listen to and understand what somebody else is going through. If I really if I can understand that, then maybe I can understand what I've gone through. That's what harmony is really about. The other thing is, the other point we need to make, the other function here is do. Well, everybody says they're going to go do this and they're going to go do that. They're going to go do whatever they're going to go do. Yay. I don't know that you can do anything that way. I think you have to talk to people to get things done. I think in order to get something done, whether it's elect somebody or build a bridge or send a kid to school, I think you have to communicate information. I think the communication of information is actually a spiritual act. I think that's really true. And I think that when people communicate information, that what happens is that things get done because there's no argument. There's no, oh, well, that's your opinion and we will agree to disagree. Well, that's not an agreement. That's bullshit. So rather than agreeing to disagree, why don't we find out what's actually real and we get that done? That's productive. To agree to disagree is destructive, I think, more or less.
Why do you think people use that phrase so much? Like I didn't even hear it until you mentioned it, and then I was like, oh wow, like there's a lot of people that use that phrase. Let's agree to disagree. It's like
you're asking me my opinion on this?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes.
You don't want my opinion. You do not want my
yes.
opinion. No, you don't.
Yes, you do. Yes, though.
My opinion is that they're fucking assholes. That's what my opinion is. I mean, how are you going to trust somebody who's going to say, "Oh, we'll just agree to disagree"? You can tell them whatever price you want, and I'll tell them whatever price I want. We'll just agree to disagree over the price. How's that? No, that's not okay. No, asshole, you can't do that.
But I cut you on that.
I told you didn't want my opinion on that, really. You don't.
No, it was good though. That's good. But I cut on the do. Yeah, so you have to do something, and so agreeing to disagree is not doing anything.
No, it doesn't do anything. What it does is it just, all the energy is sitting there saying, Imagine, sitting down or going to the bathroom and you get on the pot and you say, okay, now I'm going, and then you can't, you just don't. And you're there right on the edge. That's agree to disagree right there. Right. Yep. Right there. That's the one right there. Oh, Yep. Okay. What else you got there, kid?
Well, other than that, I think that, so you use those three things are like the most foundation. So you have to like see where everything's at, be in harmony with where that is, and that will allow you to do. Well, sort of, yeah. I mean, that's the Cliff Notes version, but yeah, that's true. And when we say that, it's like easier said than done, right? And that's why. Actually, not. It's easier done than said. Okay. We do it automatically, and we're not aware of it. Yes, see, that's right. It's always there. We're always doing it, but we don't see it because, well, we don't have a way of talking about it. I mean, we just don't. It's like this, the Eskimos have 100 words or more to describe snow. Because their life is involved with snow, and they have to look at snow and understand what kind of snow it is. Certain snows slide better than other snows, and certain snows leave tracks differently. Just all kinds of things about snows. They have 100 different ways of describing a snow when it falls and what lays on the ground. I don't have that many names for snow. The only thing has like 15. I have a name for snow. Oh shit! No way, dude. That's funny. Okay, but here's the point that I'm trying to make. If you divide these ideas up and you stretch them out, then you look at them, they're not as simple as they seem, eh? Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when you're putting it into a place where you're understanding what you're doing, that's what you say that's not easy? Or did I not?
The understanding requires work. Let me put it that way. I mean, it
Okay.
actually requires work. I mean, and it might even require physical work.
Okay. Say a little bit more about that.
Well, in any endeavor, it doesn't make any difference what the endeavor is. If it's let's go back in time and make some easy endeavors. Okay, there were people who, it's like here in Central America, and the Aztecs and the Purepecha and the the Tecos and so forth. All those indigenous peoples that lived here in this and are in and around Jalisco didn't have wheels. They walked everywhere. And so the thing is that people who walked like that, they developed pretty good skills of being able to walk and carry stuff. Like for instance, the Purepecha salt carriers were said to be able to carry 80 kilos of salt for about 30 miles in a day. That's 160 pounds plus of salt, and they're going to carry that up and down hills and keep up with each other for 30 miles. Those boys were in shape, I think, if they did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, but the way that they did it, one of the things that they did is they didn't put the weight on their shoulders. They put it on their head, and so they stood up into the weight rather than carrying it on their shoulders.
Mm.
So I don't know the difference myself, but that's what they did. But they walked everywhere, so it must have been a fairly efficient way of getting around, because apparently the entire country did it, walked places at that time. They knew what wheels were, they just didn't use them to transport things. Okay, so there were certain indigenous tribes that used like 3 poles or even 2 poles, and they put it like a blanket or something in between the 2 poles, and they put their stuff on the blanket, and they put the poles that connected the poles to the horse, and so the poles could drag behind the horse on the ground, and it was kind of like a really dust laden wheelbarrow that was backwards somehow, because the wheel was actually the horse and the handles were dragging on the ground. But it carried stuff, okay? Other people packed things onto the horse itself. And then other people came along and they said, if you had a wagon with wheels on it, then you could drag, the horse could drag the wagon, and you could put more stuff on the wagon than you could on the poles. And then somebody else came along and said, if you have a motor in that instead of a horse, you can put even more stuff on the wagon, and you don't have to drag anything, including the horse, around. And so it goes. But anyway, those are all different levels of abstracting the concept of do, or the tool of do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And each one of those levels is what people can see to accomplish. In other words, what could they make real? In the first example, people could transport anything you wanted, more or less, but they had to do it by hand, by their own force. And then came the horses, and the horses could help them move things.
Mm-hmm.
Then came machines, and the machines could help them move things. Well, we're still moving things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, we move houses.
Yeah, well, we move all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. So
Go ahead.
a person doesn't wake up and be like, I'm going to be one with myself today.
Person doesn't wake up and do what?
I'm going to be one with myself today. I'm going to be one with myself today.
A person never can say that and it actually come true. One has to be that, not say it. In other words, that requires one acting in spite of the rebellion that one feels, or the hesitancy that one feels, or the embarrassment one feels, or the other rules that one feels that have to be in place, because after all, that's what the body learned when it was 3 years old, so it has to be still true, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yes.
Well, maybe
That,
not, but I've met a lot of people that insisted with me it was true, so it must be true.
I don't think it can't be true. So when we're talking
Oh, come
about these
on.
tools, I know that you have a series of classes that you put together. And so do is probably the first tool that you take, that you teach, because it's not, like you said, it's something that we're already doing. It's just you shining a light on how we're doing it, if it's efficient in how we're doing it.
Well, I don't know if I'm shining a light on it. Maybe you could probably say it like that. I really don't think about it that way for myself, though. I think about more of saying, okay, look, here's the language that we can use to discuss this. Okay, because I can't trust what I see, because I don't have anybody, unless I have somebody that says to me, okay, yeah, I see the same thing. If somebody's doing that, then I have a pretty good idea that what I'm looking at is probably what they're looking at. But when I'm looking at things, and well, there's nobody set there over on the other side to discuss that back. I'm not really sure whether what I'm looking at is what I think it is or not.
Yeah.
I have a strong suspicion that I'm correct, but who doesn't?
I've never been wrong when I'm talking to myself. I'll tell you that.
Okay,
Just kidding.
and that's obviously true.
Yeah. So when you're, you teach, well, you teach, the tool of B1, and you teach it in a intro class and a rewrite.
Yes.
Why does, and why does someone need, like, what is that? Like, why did you come up with that?
Okay.
And why do you need both of them?
Okay.
Just why?
Why? There's some things that just don't change for children. Did you know that?
I know.
Okay. Look, to be at one with yourself, you have to understand what your programming is. Okay. And if I tell you, if I meet you on the street and I say, hi, Vanessa, how you doing? If you were at one with yourself, you all you'd have to do is just straighten up your programming. You'd be fine. And you'd say, right. And you have no idea what programming is. It's kind of like somebody trying to explain, well, a car to an Aztec Indian that's carrying salt on his head back to Mexico City. I mean, just that ain't going to happen. Okay, it just, who knows what that's all about. He goes, that's a car, right on, yeah. What the fuck's a car? I mean, that concept doesn't exist, you see, at that point. Well, that's what's true for people, is that they don't know really what a program is unless they actually write one. And so the thing is that we've all written programs. Every one of us have written all kinds of programs. We've all written programs that started with our hand or our feet as being representing the goal for that thing we're going for. We've all used our wrists as the way to get there, and our elbows as charisma, and our hips as orientation, and we eliminated the lower stomach and assimilated upper, and had impulses and needs and possibilities and form and substance, all those things. We had all that. We did all those things because all those things are represented by different parts of the body. And so the thing is that what I like people to do is I like people to actually have the experience of writing something on purpose, using those parts of the body as a guide. In other words, to actually write out a goal. Say, okay, I want to go to this place. I want to get this thing, whatever that is for them. Great, that's the thing you want. How do you get that? And then now we're off an atom, because the means to get it is always something other than bringing the future into the present. People just don't understand that that's what you have to do to reach a goal. is that you have to reach out there and grab that future thing, and you got to pull that into where you are right here and now. People can't grasp that. They think they have to. Well, like for instance, they think if they want to go to Guadalajara, they first have to be able to go to Seville, Spain, or something, or Moscow or something, and it's like, well, just go to Guadalajara. Yeah, but what if I get lost? I end up in Tlaquepaque. You can buy your way out. Trust me. It's just, it's just insane stuff. Okay, that we all try to do. We try to go do this. You want to buy a house? Yes, I want to buy a house. What's the first thing you got to do? I got to get the money, man. No, you don't. You got to decide that you're buying the house. You've got to actually bring that buying house thing into right now. The money part is coming if you're going to buy the house. If you don't have the money, you're not going to buy the house. So that's a given, the money. The problem is that you're thinking about having to get the money. That's not the goal. The goal is the house, remember? Then let's get the house, and we'll worry about the money we'll get over there, that bridge. Okay, what's the charisma? Well, I'm not going to do what anybody else does to get the honey. That's the charisma that you're using there, and it probably is not going to serve you very well. How dare you talk to me that way? Yeah, that's the one. That's the very charisma. It's going to, you like renting? You should. I can see why. Okay, what's my orientation? My orientation is to be here all by myself and do it all by myself, because you can't trust anyone. Okay, so that's a good orientation. That won't be anybody to help you buy the house then, right? What do you have to assimilate then, or what do you have to eliminate? I don't have to eliminate anything. I'm fine how I am. Then what do you have to assimilate? What can I assimilate? I mean, how can you make perfection better, etc.? Instead of writing those things that make sense, they often write things that are kind of destructive. So if they know that that's what they're doing, if we can stop them and say, okay, look, here's a structure that you're following, even though if you don't know it, it's the goals mean structure that you follow to think for things, because you were a kid one time, and so that structure is still there for you. It's there for me too. It's there for all of us. That we all use it. There's other ones that we can use too, but there's that one. That one's always accessible. And so I want people to have a practice shot at that, to find out really what they are doing it, because the first time through it, we put a lot of stuff on it, because the blueprint of a program is always how the first program is, and so you don't want to really have a program written that's chock full of errors, because you don't know what programming itself is. So you want to practice once first, run through it one time, say, oh, okay, I see, this is how this relates and that relates, so forth. And then I want people to go back and find something that's really important to them in their life. I don't care what it is, nor do I care how they resolve it. What I care is that they find something important. And people have found all kinds of things. I know a lady that found that she fell into a well when she was 9 months old and nearly drowned. I know a lady that argued with her, decided their mom didn't love her at the ripe old age of 2 years old. I know a lady that thought that her daddy loved her better than mom because daddy was molesting her at 2 years old. I know lots of stories like that, and lots of people going back to those things. And generally speaking, when you really have something like that you want to correct, it's going to be found back there 2-3 years old, when we're first learning to talk. That's when we can really fuck things up bad, because we don't really know what we're doing. We don't have any experience. We're kids. We're goofy kids without experience, and so everything's a new experience for us. And so unless we're guided just so, we don't do a good thing with that. We end up doing the kinds of things that we all end up doing. That's generally speaking, was because we were kids once upon a time.
And so then after that, then you have them understand what they did with program theory. Or do you not do that anymore? Do they just go to harmony class?
No. They folks really have to understand what program theory is. You see, program theory is what we call an effective theory. Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm. Explain me to it.
Okay, an effective theory is any theory at all that works. It may not have anything at all to do with the actual breakdown of of the mechanics of the thing that happens. I'll give you an example. It was gravity. As far as I'm concerned, gravity pulls me straight down. Okay, that's an effective theory. It's not actually true, but it's an effective theory. What actually happens that I have weight on the ground, on the earth, is I'm actually falling into the earth when I'm traveling through space time, and the curvature of the earth is pulling me into or changing my trajectory, so that I don't fly in a straight line. I end up standing upright on the earth instead. Now, that I don't think I want to try to explain that to a second grader. I think it's just as well to tell the second grader that the gravity pulls you down on the earth. That's probably a good
Mm-hmm.
explanation. When the kid gets up into college, then we can give him the other explanation and tell him that we lied to him. It's kind of like Santa Claus.
Okay. So so like they find a memory, and a memory is what is just, popping up for them as their childhood.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing because, but it isn't. And I'll tell you what the isn't part first. Okay. All right. Look, excitation causes interlock. If you get excited about something, you kind of interlock with it. If you get mad about somebody, some pissed me off, you can talk about that for years, right? You don't believe me? Ask your mom. And she's good at that. People do those things. They get mad. They get interlocked with it, and they stay mad about it forever and a day.
I
don't
know.
mind.
I'm mad at the football coach, and Pat's like, "Are you still mad at him?" I'm like, "Yes." He pissed me off.
Yeah, well, he didn't piss you off. That pissed off is already there, and you just happen to be applying it to the coach. That's all that's going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't understand that anger or whatever has been there since we were 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't get it. We can't see it. We think that when we blame somebody else for making us that way, that's what we did with mommy.
Yeah, so when that thing is that interlock, something like, it's like we blame it on someone. It's not that happened to us. We blamed it on someone.
Yeah, but Ma, make him stop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's he doing? He's saying that thing again. It makes me feel bad. He knows I don't like it. Oh, well, good. I'm glad that you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you don't love me. You're right. And you know what? You keep on with that. I'm loving you less by the moment. Just keep on for it. Go. Way to go. Okay, this is the thing with all of us, though, right? Is that we don't see that we've done this for all of our life. We don't see that reaction that we have was programmed back in the day, because we've always done it.
Mm-hmm.
We've done it since we were little. We never saw it. We've never had a time when we didn't do those things once we learned them.
Yeah, so mom graduates to boss, and then sister and stuff graduate to co-workers.
What's even best is
neighbors
mom graduates to your sweetness and light, your significant other. And daddy does the same thing. And so whatever you're carrying around with daddy or mommy, you're going to dump on them, by gollies. Aren't they lucky? They don't even know why. They don't even know. You don't even know why you're doing it.
Yeah. So then they see program theory. They put them in program theory, and they say, okay, so this is the explanation of what you just did. You wrote a program, you brought it into reality, and this is how your brain did all that.
Well, sort of. I don't know I don't know that I can really explain that for anybody. I can point them in directions for them to see where they're doing those things. But
In program theory.
yeah, in program theory, because there are certain things that are true for all of us human beings in terms of our brains. I mean, there are just certain things that are true about it. And so if we look at those things that are true and we think about how those things are used or how they have traditionally been used, then we can perhaps come up with a new language or a more complete language that gives us an ability to examine those things more carefully.
Okay.
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 And when we examine them more carefully, then, well, gee, we can alter our behavior based on reality or based on real things rather than based on how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like you're being fair with me. Okay, I don't care whether you feel like it or not. I don't know how else I could be fair with you, but all right, fair, you're good deal. You don't feel like it.
So
And now what?
can you like give an example of how program theory is applied?
I thought I've been doing that, but okay.
No, yeah, so that's that. So don't get like
Okay,
everybody. I think that you did, but I don't know if
okay. Well, here's a
someone
place.
else, like just something like
Okay,
little.
okay, okay. Here we go. Ready?
Okay, yep, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. All right. In order to understand anything about program theory, you have to consider the following. There are two schools of thought about the origins of thought itself. Okay, it just is.
Mm-hmm.
There's the school of thought that says everything is experiential. You have
Yep.
experiences, and that therefore you know and you do. There's another theory, another school of thought that says, well, it's all preordained more or less. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Calvinistic type of approach, like the Methodist Church was started with that kind of an idea that there's
Mm-hmm.
preordination. Okay, and so the idea is that maybe none of those are correct. Maybe it's some kind of a hybrid of those kinds of ideas. Maybe there are some ideas, some things that are certainly certainly influenced by experience. That's obviously true. There are
Mm-hmm.
certain things that are experienced that are influenced by something that's greater than us. Okay, whether it's language or society or the uh, the fact that our brains think in uh, 11 dimensions or some damn thing like that. It's like, okay, all of those things can be true at the same time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to stop and say, okay, well, for me to actually consider my thoughts, I have to say, well, there's certainly a lot of thoughts I have that came from my experience. I have a whole practical side of me that came from growing up on a farm. That there are real things from there, they really
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm.
There are real attitudes, there are real ways of working and thinking about work and solving work related problems and so forth. But there's also also a part that's spiritual, okay, that comes from well, let's say what all that means for any body. It means that you eat. That's surely true. But why eat like that?
Mm-hmm.
What's the purpose for all that? Well, it's because there's also that thing of being connected with the reality of the world, of growing your own food and eating your own food and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. It's good for it's a healthy lifestyle. And there's also a part of that has to do with the effect of what we believe is real in the world. Okay, like for my dad, he believed that the Odd Fellows or the Masons were a real thing, and he became a 32nd degree or 33rd degree Mason in two different lodges, for instance. Well, that was a real thing for him, and it defined his life in lots of ways. I don't see anything wrong with that, of him defining his life that way. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do that. I tried. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get along with the getting into the Masons, because I had to say, well, there's just one God, and He made up all the universe. And it's like, well, that may or may not really be the case. So I can't lie to that. I can't lie and say that that's really true. It may not be. My dad didn't have that problem. He from his perspective, there was one God, and that's all there was. And okay, he has the right to think that way. I had different experiences than he did, but I don't know that my experiences and physical experiences were the ones that count. I think maybe my spiritual experiences were the ones that counted for me thinking about that differently, whatever those are, because there's not even things I don't think I can even talk about them, because they're experiences that didn't take place in an area where I can speak. That probably sounds goofy as all get out,
No, it makes. I mean, for me, it makes sense. So.
okay, well, okay.
Yeah.
Gee, I feel way better now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a truckload that you just gave us.
I'm sorry. You always
No, don't apologize.
you always accuse me of that. So okay.
Yeah. Well, it's not an accusation. See.
Okay.
It's a public announcement. So, well, for tonight, I think we're gonna cut it at this, because I think that there's more. I'd like to dig in more about program theory, because I think that it's part of that big roadmap that we were talking about. So I'd like to dig in a couple of things, and I've taken program theory, so I know. So I'll get some things together and see what we can do next time. How about those apples?
Well, how about those apples? Yeah, I like those apples. Cool.
Yeah. So for everybody that's listening, we have a Facebook page, a YouTube channel. Subscribe, ask us questions, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, John.
You're welcome, Vanessa. We'll see you later.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.